Shalom, people.
Shalom.
I'll tell you what, though, it is not easy to be here. It's a big responsibility. And I tried to talk myself out with Brother Dave. And he hit me with the Jonah story. I don't want to be Jonah. So let's just get through this. Okay? All right, so the whale was going to swallow me, but I jumped in the water. Right now, I'm swimming. Okay? So this is what I wanted to do today. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to speak a little bit on the Torah portion for this week, but also I wanted to talk about the one of last week because it spoke to me so much, and I think that we can bleed it through. We can get something out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go old school, and if you guys have Bibles or Bibles in your phone,
If you don't have your Bible, shame on you.
yeah, we can pull it out. We're going to read together. We're going to go to Leviticus 14. And I'm not going to go through the entire chapter, right? Because I want you guys to get some lunch. So we're gonna keep it moving. Leviticus 14, verse 1. We're gonna read from verse 1 to 4. And it says, Adonai said to Moshe, this is to be the law concerning the person afflicted with tzara. On the day of his purification, he is to be brought to the priest, and the priest is to go outside the camp and examine him there. If he sees the tzara's sores have been healed in the afflicted person, then the priest will order that 2 living clean birds be taken for the one to be purified, along with the cedar wood, scarlet, yarn, and hyssop leaves. Now the priest, we're going to stop there, number 4. I find that really interesting, okay? The stuff that is utilized once you find out that the person has been afflicted and once the person has been cleansed, okay? Then we're going to jump to verse 13, all the way down. This has to do with leprosy in the body. This is what it has to do with, right? And what actually caught my attention is on verse 33, and we're going to go there. It is that these switches from leprosy in the body to leprosy in the clothes, and then leprosy in the house, right? So what type of sickness is this? I ask. So let's go ahead and read 33. Adonai said to Moshe and Aaron, when you have entered the land of Canaan, which I'm giving you as a possession, I put an infection, and he says, the Lord, and I will put an infection of tzara in the house. This is caused by the Lord. This is the disease that is given by God. Okay? It says, in the house, in the land that you possess. Then the owner of the house is to come and tell the priest about this disease. It seems to me that there may be an infection in the house. The priest is to order the house empty before he goes to go in to inspect the infection. Okay? In the Torah of last week, there was something similar to where, the week before last week, there was something similar where the person affected or afflicted by tzara has to come to the priest, right? And then the priest has to inspect them. Okay? And then this person is isolated. Okay? And then after he's isolated, then they got to come and check on him again. The person has to shave the entire body, the head. He has to look like a baby. No, hairless, right? A lot of us wish that we were hairless, right? But you have to be infected by tzara. We don't want that. So now this person's isolated, okay? And then he's brought back, right? The priest come and check him out, and he inspect him again. And then if it didn't get better, then he got to pass another 7 days, right, to see if it got better. Now, as we're jumping into the portion here, verse 36 now, this is happening, the exactly same thing is happening to the house. Okay? Now the priest is to order the house to be empty. He goes in to inspect it to see the infection, so that everything in the house will be made unclean. Afterwards, the priest is to enter and inspect the house. He will examine the infection. If he sees that the infection is in the walls of the house, okay, with greenish or reddish depressions that seem to go in deeper than the surface of the wall. Okay, this is an infection that goes in within, in the inside. Okay, and then this infection begins to manifest on the outside. Okay. He's to go out of the house to his door and seal up the house for 7 days. Exactly the same thing that is happening to the person infected with leprosy. Okay? It says the priest will come again on the 7th day and examine the house. If he sees that the infection has spread all over the walls, he is to order them to remove the infected stones and throw them into a place where you throw unclean things outside of the city or outside of the camp. Next, he's to have the inside of the house thoroughly scraped. As this is coming out, the priest, as you're throwing the stones out, okay, and when you're throwing stones out, you got to replace them. You got to put new ones in. But then the priest comes in, he begins to scrape to see if this is going to stop the infection. Okay, and then scraped off plaster is to be discarded outside the city in an unclean place. Finally, all their stones must be set in place of the first stones. Here comes the replacement. And plaster is used to replaster the house. If the infection returns and breaks out in the house after the stones have been removed and the house scraped and plastered, then the priest is to enter and examine it. Again, if he sees that the infection has spread in the house, it is a contagious leprosy or tzara in the house. It is unclean. Now he must break down the house and the stones and the timber and plaster out of the city and throw away to an unclean place. This is all very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And then let me just go ahead and touch here on 49. On 49, once the house, if the disease stopped, okay, the priest is to come back, okay, once everything is restored, and then he is to go through the same purification process that you got to go through with a person. It says on 49, to purify the house, he is to take 2 birds, cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop leaves. Exactly the same thing. So this is what is really ringing. It's calling my attention. This is a disease that doesn't remain in one's flesh. This is a disease that goes into your home. This is a disease that goes into your clothes, right? So what is tzara? So I looked this up, right? And the word is translated to leprosy, right? But it covers more than just a fleshly leprosy. The disease reaches beyond the human flesh. And I believe that this is a spiritual matter. This is not a physical matter. This is really spiritual, guys. Okay? The Strong's define this word as malignant. It says it is a skin disease that is very bad for you. Where does it take place? In people, which is verse 13. Right? And also, the same disease can take place in the clothes. What do you do with the clothes? You have to wash it. There's a cleansing process for that too. If not, you got to throw it away. And then it also says that this can happen in the buildings as mildew or mold. Okay? The root word for tzara is sada, and it's not spelled the same way as the name. Meaning to be diseased or to be stricken with leprosy. Now I ask, is this leprosy a condition of the heart? Is tzara a physical manifestation of a person's spiritual condition?
Yes.
I ask. Romans 7:14 reads, "For we know that the Torah is spiritual."
Right.
So must I not look at the Torah portion with the spiritual eyes, with the help of the Ruach?
Yes.
It's all very interesting, right? So the portion of last week is tzara, okay? And the sages, I don't look too much into them, right? I'm still learning, but the sages and the rabbis believe that the word is connected to evil speech. This is what they believe. Now, I ask, could this be a coincidence? That the person afflicted with leprosy in chapter 13, the week before, has to cover their lips. If this has to do with evil speech, the person affected with leprosy has to cover their lips and begin to shout, unclean, unclean. I have been defiled. I am unclean. Thus now the word of our Messiah says that from the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. There's something rotten here. Sorry. There's something rotten. There's something happening in the person's heart. Now, the Torah teaches us to observe carefully what we consume. Be very careful what we consume. But it is also important to watch what actually comes out. What comes out of your mouth. And I'm not speaking about the result of a drunk fest when you're just vomiting, right? That's not what I'm speaking about. But I am speaking about the result of the word pest, as in pestilence. Because that's what we become in the sight of God. We become a disease of pestilence. We become destructive and detrimental to ourselves and to others. Matthew 15 reads, what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles the person. Unclean. I'm unclean. Shouts the person who has been stricken with tzara. All derives from the heart. It is a heart condition. I believe that. For out of the heart comes evil thoughts, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. And the word is also translated to gossip. I'm guilty of that. Here's a perfect example, right? What was the punishment for Miriam when she spoke evil against Moshe? Did she get a slap in the wrist? Don't do that. Absolutely not. She got stricken with the disease. She got stricken with tzara. That's what she got stricken with. And as a good father, I mean, this was so bad that Moshe has to plead with the Lord. Lord, please heal my sister, because she looks like she's half deaf. And as a good father, the Elohim king is, he healed Miriam, right? But because she was acting out, she got put on timeout for not for 30 minutes, but for 7 days.
Right.
For 7 days. And I find also interesting when you go back and you read that when the person is cut off, right, when they're thrown out of the camp doesn't move.
Right.
So because one person is acting out, because one person decides just to do things how they want to do, right? They just want to allow their heart just to take the best of them, right? They don't work in these things. Then the entire camp cannot go forward. I just find that really interesting. Okay. So I ask, isn't tzara similar to a pestilence? Because it hinders your health, your possessions, and even hinders your home. And this is just more than just a physical place. This is your household. It just trickles down. The word utilized in this passage is the Hebrew word bayit, and I might be mispronouncing this, but I'm asking for some grace here. Which refers to a house, a physical house, a dwelling, a habitation, a shelter, abode. Also refers to a human body, your household, the temple. And also speaks about something that happens inward or in the inside. Chapter 14 states that the house that was stricken with leprosy was isolated, just like the person, stripped off their belongings. It was exposed. And it has to pass through a process of restoration. The process is a long and tedious process, right? The priest must strip the walls, plaster, right? Then he has to come back later, strip it again, and plaster. And then later again, oh, this is not working out, right? So I'm going to grab this stone, stone by stone, and I'm going to go and dump it out. And guess what? I'm going to replace the stones. So make sure I'm getting some healthy stones and put them back in place. This is all. The process is long, it's tedious. The priest has to go through this. And it's not easy. And he has to do this again and again until the house is demolished. The entire house gets demolished. But here's a nugget for your noodles. Stone by stone are taken apart. Scrape and plaster. Okay? The disease or the affected with tzara has to be tossed out into an evil place. It kind of sounds like tossed out into the outer darkness. And the new ones are going to put in place. And what's the purpose? It's to restore the house and the temple to its former glory. 1 Peter 2:5 reads, "You yourselves are like living stones and being built up as a spiritual house."
Yeah.
For who? For Adonai. For Adonai. Don't you know that you are a temple of the living God? 1 Peter 2:4. So put away all malice, deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and gossip. 1 Peter 2:1. Moreover, all bitterness, wrath, and anger. This doesn't lead to nothing good. For the good Father disciplines those he loves, for it is time for the judgment to begin in the house of Elohim. And if it begins in the house of Elohim, meaning it begins with us, what would it be for those who do not obey the good news of Elohim? Discipline starts here, starts now, it begins with us. So I'm asking, who has the power to heal the leper? Who has the power to rebuild the house? Who has the power to open the eyes of our brothers who are blind? Who has the power to raise the dead unto salvation? Proverbs 30 verse 4 says the following. Who has ascended to heaven and come down? Who has gathered the wind in his hands? Who has wrapped up the waters in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is the name of his son? What is the name of his son?
Yeshua.
It's sad because his name in Israel has become a curse. It says, forever his name be blotted out. But you can't blot it out. Because salvation is all over the Bible. All over the Bible. You can't blot it out. And this leads me to the new portion, which I don't know how to pronounce. And if anybody want to tell me how to pronounce this, I don't know if it's Ahare.
The Beret Hadashah.
The
Beret Hadashah, which is New Testament.
Are you talking about the Torah portion?
No, the newer Torah portion. Yeah.
Achri Mo.
Huh?
Achri Mo.
Achri-mo. Okay, okay, yeah. I'm gonna let you pronounce every time, okay?
Great.
Because let's read. This is going to be Leviticus 16, okay? And we're gonna read verse 1 and 2. Just go there. Everybody's there? All right. Verse 1. Adonai spoke with Moshe after the death of Aaron's 2 sons, when they tried to sacrifice before Adonai and die. Do you guys remember what happened here? They wanted to come closer to God, but they tried to do it their own way. So they brought forth strange fire. It wasn't commanded by Adonai to do it the way that they did it. Okay? Adonai said to Moshe, tell your brother, Aaron, not to come at just any time into the holy place, beyond the curtain, says, in front of the ark cover, which is on the ark, so that he will not die. Because I appear in the cloud over the ark cover, says Adonai. Because Adonai is holy, he is warning Moshe to warn the high priest, his brother, to not be hasty. Don't come and go as you please. There is a process. There is a process. There is a process of preparation that the high priest must take before meeting Adonai. The high priest cannot come and go as he pleases. He must undergo a process of cleansing. It's interesting because I heard very often, just come as you are. You know? And that makes me fearful now. 1 Peter 2:9 reads, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. That is who you are according to the word of Elohim. You're called to be a holy nation, to be set apart, not to be like the world. We cannot worship God like other nations do. It's not the way that it works. We're supposed to do it the way that Elohim says we ought to do it, because we're reflecting him. We're reflecting his glory. Deuteronomy 7:6 and 14:2, both passages read very similar. It says, for you are a people holy to the Lord, a chosen people to be his own treasure. How amazing is that? Understanding the words that we hear, can we do as we please, knowing that we are holy unto God and that he is holy? So for that reason, he's calling us to be holy. Not according to the words of Elohim. And the answer is absolutely not. We cannot act like the world. For we know we are of the Lord, and the world lies in the power of the evil one. So everything outside of the ways of Elohim is not of him. I said we must undergo the process of preparation and cleansing. We have to go through this. The process requires to purify oneself with water and to put on the holy garments of Elohim. These garments, though, they're not regular garments. Okay? This is the garments provided by the king. He tells you what you ought to wear. The parable of the king's wedding emphasizes this very thing. Okay, Matthew 22:11-12 reads the following. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there was a man who didn't have the right garments. He didn't have the wedding garments. And he said to him, friend, how do you get in here without the proper attire? And the man was speechless. What happened after that is he got bound up, right? He got tied up and he was tossed just like the stones into outer darkness.
Yeah.
We must put on the garments of Elohim. We must undergo a process of sanctification. There's a verse in the New Testament that talks about walking our salvation with trembling and fear, right? Have you heard the phrase, are you ready to meet your maker? If somebody comes today and they put a gun at me and they say, are you ready to meet your maker? What would be my response? Hey man, listen. According to Leviticus, I got to go through a process. So hold that thought. Let me come back to you, okay? And get ready to be my maker. I cannot just go like this.
That brings up a question
Yes, ma'am.
in my mind. With the thief on the cross, we always say that he believed and therefore was saved, but had no time for sanctification. Really.
Yeah.
how do you see that situation in terms of what you're teaching right now?
It is my understanding, okay, the sanctification comes through the blood of the Lamb. So I think the Lamb will be the one deciding. There's a parable that comes to mind also, which is workers at different times, right? And even if they came at the last hour, they also receive a reward. So
That's really good.
Yes. Yeah.
if we continue reading now, verse 11 through 16, it says that the high priest is to present a bull as a sin offering for himself. He says that he will make atonement for himself and his household. He is to slaughter the bull of the sin offering, which is for himself. 12. He is to take a censer full of burning coal from the altar before Adonai, with his hands full of ground, fragrant incense, and bring it inside the curtain. He is to put the incense on the fire before Adonai, so that the cloud from the incense will cover the ark, which is over the testimony, in order that he not die. Okay? And then he goes on and speaks about grabbing the blood and start sprinkling on the ark, on the person. Okay? And there's a process in here of sanctification where they also grab the blood and they just kind of touch the right ear with that, right? The right thumb, right? And the right toe. Okay? And I didn't get into that too much, but it sounds like they were doing the right thing. Just saying. Okay, so the high priest is required to bring a sacrifice to atone for his sins and that of his household. Indeed, under the Torah, almost everything is purified with blood. And without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sin. That's Hebrews 9:22. Okay? The blood is an interesting element, and it was required for cleansing purposes. But here's the thing, though. I do not suggest that you go to the market or a butcher and ask for a bucket of blood and throw in your bathtub. Okay? This is more than what it meets the eye. Okay? The worst days of the life of the animal is in the blood. The blood was super sacred. Okay? And we're strictly forbidden to eat of it. The point here is that the life of an innocent being was taken to preserve another. That's the point here. I'm going to take a sinless being, okay, and I'm going to murder it so that I can save yours. And this is all because of our fallen state in our wicked nature. But he was pierced for our transgression. He was crushed from our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace. And with his wounds we are healed. He was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, he opened his mouth not. It was necessary, church, to have the life of one person taken for the sake of your life and my life. Our Messiah was innocent. He was perfect in every way. Yet it was the will of the Father to crush him for the redemption of mankind. He was a perfect sacrifice. And it was supposed to be done that way. So I said, we've been purchased by the blood of the Lamb. Yes, we have. So we're not our own. We're not our own. We just don't do what we please. Don't you know, Corinthians 6 says, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you? Your body, a temple. The word says that he tabernacles in us. You are not your own, but you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20. If we walk in the light as he is light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of, there is a name in there, his son cleanses us from all sin. What if that name was blotted out? That isn't there. But the word tells us he got a son. Now I go back to Proverbs 34. Okay, what is his name? This is a question. This is a legit question that some people, some of our brothers have to struggle with. What is his name and what is the name of his son? And then it says, surely you know. That's what it says. Revelations. Who is worthy to open the scrolls and break the seals? There was no one on earth and on heaven found to open the seals. But there was an elder. He said to me, weep no more. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scrolls and its 7 seals. Hallelujah. I'm so grateful for that. And when he had taken the scrolls, the 4 living creatures and 24 elders, each holding a harp, a golden bowl full of incense, which, by the way, are the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song, saying, worthy are you to take the seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God from every language, from every people and nation, and you made them a kingdom and priest of the Most High. Amen. And guess what? And then he says, they shall reign. They shall reign on earth. And that's speaking about us. So I don't think that we can do whatever we want. We cannot just say whatever we please. We cannot allow anger to get the best of us and just spit fire, right? We got a testimony to keep. We got people watching. So I'm saying again, that is who you are. No, that's not me, that's the word. That is who you are. A kingdom of priests. A chosen race and a treasurer of Adonai. Leviticus 18, 1 through 4. Living behind, let's go ahead and go to Leviticus 18 really quick. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the people of Israel and tell them, I am Adonai, your God. You are not to engage in the activities found in the land of Egypt, where you used to live. And you are not to engage in the activities found in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you for you to possess this land. Nor are you to live by their laws. You are to obey my rulings, says Adonai, and laws, and live accordingly. I am Adonai, your God. You are to observe my laws and rulings. If a person does them, he will have life through them. Here's the seal. I am Adonai. So live behind Egypt, okay? Just live behind. And do not conform to Babylon. Because after Egypt, where were we taken? To Babylon. So put away your former way of life, Egypt. Put away that old man that is full of corruption. And put on the new man, created after the likeness of Elohim. Your new man, your spirit, the Ruach in you, is in the likeness of Elohim. It is not our spirit, guys. This is not our doing. The word says that he will cause us to keep his law. That he will remove the stony heart. That he will give us the heart of flesh. Sensitive to the Spirit of God. And do not conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of Elohim, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So I counsel you, Revelation 3:18, to buy from me gold refined by fire, says the Lord, so that you may be rich, and white garments, so that you may clothe yourselves, and the shame of your nakedness may not be seen any longer. So we must not approach the king as we please. I don't think we should do that. We must wear a cloak of humility as we come towards the king. Colossians 3:12. Therefore, as the Lord chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with feelings of compassion and with kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with one another. If anyone has a complaint against someone else, forgive him. Indeed, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must forgive. Sounds like a command to me. Above all things, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together perfectly. And let the shalom, which comes from the Messiah, be your heart's decision maker. For this is why you were called to be part of a single body, of a single temple. So I would like to conclude with this. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And we are to give how like he is with the Father. So that is all I got, guys.
Amen.